So I was recently playing Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus for a video, which you should check out by the way, just to get some footage and see if my thoughts on the game had stayed the same. They had, go check out the video for them. Anyway, I was playing the intro mission, the one where Blazkowicz is in a wheelchair, and that mission gave me a thought. What if the player was in a wheelchair for the whole game? Could they not only survive, but beat the game the same way they could if they weren't in a wheelchair? And how many other games is this possible for? So in this video, I'll be ranking how wheelchair accessible some games are. I mean, it's 2024 guys, they should all be accessible.
All of them.
Now before we start, just keep in mind that this is not a very serious video, it's meant to be a bit of fun. So if you disagree with some of the ratings, that's okay, just know that you're wrong, okay? Because I'm always right. Okay, let's start off with the game that gave me the idea, Wolfenstein 2. Now this game takes place in an alternate universe with some pretty great technological advances. I mean, there's robot dogs, flying drones, massive Nazi shits with jetpacks on their backs, and some super armor that the player eventually wears. This is to say that technology in that universe is just a bit better than ours, so it wouldn't surprise me if the crazy scientist guy could come up with some invention that could be attached to a wheelchair if need be. Like put some tiny jetpacks on it that could make it jump, and then some boosters on the back that would make it go fast with it being neurologically attached to Blazkowicz's brain, meaning he wouldn't need to push anything to move and can still dual wield. The only problem would be stairs, but I'm sure that could be solved with some more gadgets that the scientists could come up with. So Wolfenstein 2 gets 4 fancy and expensive wheelchairs out of 5. Now let's switch gears and talk about some of the greatest games of all time. Mario games. We can all agree that they are pretty good. Some would say incredible. I would say that. They're just so fun. For people without a wheelchair, that is. If Mario was injured in a freak Bowser accident and was in a wheelchair, I don't think he could complete any level. That's because jumping is such an integral part of the Mario games, and unlike Wolfenstein, I don't think the technology exists where a wheelchair could be modified to jump in that universe. Now there are power-ups that Mario could grab that could change things, but how could he get those? It's not like they're just lying on the ground at the start of every single level waiting to be picked up. Plus, they're meant to be an extension of Mario's initial moveset, not the base of it. So unfortunately for our favourite Italian plumber, he gets 2 hospital-grade wheelchairs out of 5. Okay, quick editor's note. I completely forgot about Super Mario Sunshine, and that game basically proves that it could work. But it relies on water too much for my liking, so Mario is now a 3 out of 5. Mario Kart, on the other hand, is a different story. I feel like if the next Mario Kart game came out and there was a wheelchair for a vehicle, like one of those motorized ones, no one would question whether that could work. Unlike in platformer Mario games, the cars don't jump in Mario Kart, and if they do, it's off of ramps, stuff a wheelchair could easily navigate. Plus, it's a game where fucking mushrooms and ghosts can drive, so I'm sure a wheelchair could work. 5 motorized wheelchairs out of 5. The racing game genre as a whole could work depending on the universe in which they're set. For example, if it's say the F1 games, a wheelchair couldn't work because of how realistic the universe, real life, it's set in is. Crash Bandicoot Team Racing, in the other hand, is set in a universe like Mario Kart, so a wheelchair definitely could be used as a vehicle. So to summarize, F1 0 out of 5, CTR 5 out of 5, an Indy 500 game would get 5 out of 5 because they let the fucking snail compete one time, so I'm sure a wheelchair would be fine. Okay, time for a speedrun round. Owlboy. The dude can fly, so I'm sure he could carry a wheelchair. He just might need to get a bit more swole, possibly take some steroids or something. 5 out of 5. Donkey Kong. Even though you probably have to jump over some barrels, there are ladders that you can climb to avoid them, so it's kind of wheelchair accessible. 2 out of 5. The Last of Us. I'm sorry, but people who aren't in a wheelchair can barely survive that universe. Plus, you need an extremely oiled up wheelchair that doesn't make any sound so you don't get detected by clickers. 0 out of 5. Hollow Knight is a weird one because even though I think you could complete the game in a wheelchair by using the double jump wings as your normal jump, and just by tanking through bosses by countering and taking damage, the save points require you to sit on a chair. You expect everyone to easily be able to sit on chairs, Team Cherry? Do better! Okay, I'm sorry for that outburst. I just really want Silksong to be released already. 2.5 out of 5. One of Hollow Knight's inspirations was Dark Souls, and they are interesting games when it comes to this question. When you originally think of the Souls games with this scenario, your first thought would be, yeah, no way in hell that could work.
Ain't gonna happen.
I know this because that was my first thought as well. But if you think about it some more, the answer will surprise you. You see, in those games, the player can't jump, which automatically eliminates the biggest obstacle for a wheelchair. So really, the only thing you wouldn't be able to do is dodge, but that's okay because you still be able to block attacks, meaning you could still survive encounters with bosses. Basically, you just turn yourself into a tank with heaps of health and stamina. The only problem would be navigating the world, but I'm sure we could find a way for that to work. I mean, there are videos of people beating Elden Ring without moving, so I'm sure a wheelchair would be fine. The Soul series gets 5 out of 5 wheelchairs that dude in Bloodborne uses. Those are just some games I could think of. I thought this was a fun little exercise in trying to work around some of the most fundamental game design choices that being in a wheelchair forces you to think about. So, I give this video 5 out of 5 fucking Lamborghini wheelchairs. I still can't believe they let a fucking snail compete in the Indy 500. What were they thinking?